A DC fighting game from the creators of Mortal Kombat. Holy shit, I'm completely unprepared for this. Sorry about that. One sec. Shazam! Alright, that's better. Let's do this. Injustice Gods Among Us. So Injustice Gods Among Us is a fighting game created by the creative team behind Mortal Kombat and the creative team behind Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. Naturally, people are going to want to compare Injustice to both those games. I don't think that's quite fair, although I'm going to use them as comparisons in some cases. Injustice Gods Among Us has its own fighting system that's kind of like the Mortal Kombat fighting system of Mortal Kombat that came out in 2011. It doesn't fight completely like Mortal Kombat does. You do see similarities, but it was surprisingly easy to jump into Injustice. Starting out, you learn that everyone has their 1-2-3 combo or 1-2 combo. Throughout the game, you're actually surprised how much you concentrate on the combos, not as much the special moves. Then you start learning how you can link special moves in with the combos. In that, it's good for beginners. Beginners have their 1-2-3 combo system. And then as you advance and start becoming familiar with the characters, you start linking moves in ways. It is like evolution. And you would think, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's called a fighting game. You would be surprised how many fighting games miss the concept of it can't play the same 1 month after playing it as it did the first day you played it. There has to be evolution. As you evolve and you adapt, you should be able to string together more combos and become more of a badass, and it keeps the replay value there. Injustice Gods Among Us, I felt, did that really well. And it does not play at all like Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. I thought to myself, alright, Shazam's in Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe, Superman's in Mortal Kombat vs. DC. So it would have been easy for them just to port the characters over and be like, oh no, they play identically to how they did in that game. But they don't. They play completely differently. I like that. Props to the team. They were like, alright, we're not going to make it a Mortal Kombat clone. We're definitely not going to make it a Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe clone. Injustice Gods Among Us is its own game. Stringing together some of the combos, I'm not going to say they're easy, but it's natural. You just play it, you're like, oh yeah, that would work, and it did work. Some of the more advanced combos, not so easy. Some of the gameplay aspects are kind of broken, like projectiles. Not everyone has projectile moves, so when you have Deathstroke, Deathstroke is an asshole. He's a douchebag. You're fighting against him, and he's just like, bam, 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 bam. You're like, wow, you're just shooting the shit out of me from across the screen. It reminded me of Street Fighter 2. You remember that shit. Tiger, 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 tiger. Ugh. Imagine that, but the fireballs are going as fast as bullets. So some balancing issues in some aspects of the game. All in all, though, pretty solid. You will kick ass with Catwoman, Harley Quinn, Joker. Whoever you want to invest your time in perfecting, you're going to be a badass with that person. And everyone has a special move. It's the circle button on the PS3. Like Superman, you push it, and his hits now hit harder. Batman pushes circle, these batarangs circle around him. They really personalize the characters, and they do a really good job at making the characters feel like individuals. You just see their personalities come through with their character, and you're like, Oliver Queen is awesome. He's like Tony Stark meets Hawkeye. Oliver Queen. And one of the new modes, they have this clash. If someone's doing a combo against you and you're on your second life bar, you push forward in R2 and they back up and they say something to each other, and then they just go across the screen and they clash. It's this big explosion, and if you win the clash, it gets them totally off your ass. But I liked how some of the characters had it personalized. Like when Solomon Grundy's going up against Green Arrow, he'll be like, Arrow Man, no hurt Grundy. Green Arrow's like, Arrow Man, yes hurt Grundy. And they fly at each other and they clash. It was pretty cool. I like that kind of shit. I love Injustice Gods Among Us because it really gets to play on what it is. Mortal Kombat vs. DC wasn't entirely a Mortal Kombat game and wasn't entirely a DC game. It had to meet in the middle somewhere. Nothing really got to shine. Injustice Gods Among Us was like, alright, we don't have fatalities, but they do have these really ridiculous moves that's personalized to everybody. Example, when you're Superman, your super meter's full, hit L2 and R2, Superman will hit him up into outer space, fly up there, hit them back down to Earth. Everyone else's is different depending on who you play as. That was really cool. I like the level interaction too. You'll be in like a jet hangar, there are missiles hanging up, there are toolboxes, you can grab them and just chuck them at your enemy. But if you're one of the weaker characters, you just kind of use it to get away from your opponent, and you're like, no, I wanted to hit him over the head with it. It's called Gods Among Us, but I guess not everyone in DC is a god. And you have multi-tiered levels. You can hit guys with a powerful move, they go flying through the wall, ridiculous shit happens, like a wrecking ball hits them up against the wall, they go crashing down. I mean, it gets absurd. It was cool to see in this game because you really have to play up the fact that these guys are powerful and they can really take hits, and you really feel that. Yeah, it's called Gods Among Us, and you feel like you're playing as gods. Even when you're not a god, you still feel badass. Online mode's really cool, and to keep you coming back and keep you fighting people online, they have these daily challenges that'll be like, oh, win 5 matches in a row. And the next day they'll have something else, and the next day something else. I like the fact that they have new challenges every day. Keeps you coming back, keeps it fresh, gives you something to shoot for. Some of my gripes in Injustice don't have to do with the gameplay per se, but they have to do with some of the execution of some of the elements of the game. Like they have the star labs, it's pretty much like the challenge tower in Mortal Kombat. Getting through them isn't the hard part. Getting 3 stars on every one of them is. That's like pull your hair out kind of frustration right there. What do you get for it? In Mortal Kombat, you cleared the challenge tower, you got some Melina costume. Granted, the costume wasn't terrible. We gamers were pervs. We love our slutty looking game chicks. But for that being the prize at the end of the challenge tower, that wasn't quite enough. You think they would have learned by now, but nope, you clear the star challenges, what do you get? A flash skin. That's it. I would have liked to have seen a character in the game, you know? Oh, you ripped all of your hair out and the stress caused you to lose 20 years off your life. Here's a character. Good job, man. And that's one of the other frustrations in this game, and it's not even specifically this game, but this is just where gaming's going in general. There's no unlockable characters. The characters you will get later on, they're DLC. So ultimately, Injustice Gods Among Us, if you want the whole game, is a $75 game. That kind of sucks ass. You remember the time when fighting games had characters that you would unlock from gameplay? That shit was awesome. I would be up all night long playing Tekken 3 being like, I need all the characters. I like unlocking characters through gameplay. That just makes you feel more accomplished. Anyone could pay 15 to 20 bucks and get 4 characters. Why would we give you things for free? That'd be stupid for us. No, it isn't. Pleasing your fans and making them feel accomplished when playing your game, that's actually smart business. And the story mode, while good, isn't blow your mind away great. It's really cool, but it's not as long as the Mortal Kombat story mode. Again, comparing it to Mortal Kombat, I guess. The Mortal Kombat story mode is like the definitive Mortal Kombat story in the last Mortal Kombat game. There will not be a movie that encompasses Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3 as well as the story mode in Mortal Kombat. The story mode in Injustice Gods Among Us, it was cool, but in the end, I won't play through the story again. And at least in the Mortal Kombat story mode, you got a couple characters by the end. This one, you get a Superman skin. No characters at all? Really? So Injustice Gods Among Us is really easy just to dive right into. The combat system's good for beginners, and it evolves and advances as a fighting game should. You start stringing together bigger combos, and it's all natural. It feels so natural in this game. Online's fun. You have really cool challenges. These challenges, these extra things will keep you entertained for a very long time. It's a solid fighting game. If you were a fan of Mortal Kombat, you love DC characters, get this game. There's no reason not to at all. I will say, as a fighting game, Injustice Gods Among Us is worth buying at full price. That's the $60 full price, not necessarily the $15 more you're going to spend on DLC. So Injustice Gods Among Us, have you played it? What did you think about it? And who would you like to see as DLC? Or an unlockable character, if they did unlockable characters, which they don't apparently. Whoever you want to see, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.